Thanks for joining us today, and thank you for just tuning in and watching these Fanmi Ansanm interviews. It's such a joy to be able to bring you these stories and most importantly, introduce you to the folks that are making it happen. This month is the anniversary of the starting place in Temple, Texas. So we have the privilege of being joined by Tara Livesay. Not only is Tara the director of the Heartline Maternity Center, but she's also directing the starting place and is the co-founder of the starting place along with KJ, who you've probably seen on social media or maybe even know. And so Tara, thank you for joining me today and spending some time with me.
Yeah, happy to be here. Glad it worked out today.
Me too, and I'm glad to have you. It's really cool to be able to celebrate a year selfishly because I got to be there and take part in what a joyous time it was. And I want to reference the photos of the month newsletter because that has a link to some of the videos and the ribbon cutting and things that we did roughly a year ago this month. And so kind of want to talk about what's happened in that year and how that year has gone. And I guess the first kind of overarching question is, how are you feeling after a year? Is it owning up to what you thought it would be? What are your feelings as this year is in the rearview mirror?
I think we definitely went in unsure of what to expect, like just really hoping the phone would ring and people would be checking us out and asking questions. And just, I think we were both kind of apprehensive about whether or not it would take off. And it's been really good. I think we exceeded, I wouldn't say we necessarily set, oh, we want to do this many clients in the first year. We just let it be what it would be. And it has been really good. So I think it has exceeded what we thought might happen. And especially a couple of the things we didn't know we would do. When we opened the building, we absolutely didn't know yet that we would do a postpartum support group or that we would do group prenatal care. And so adding those two things in the first year has been really good. So it's been a really good first year.
Well, and that kind of leads right into that second question around what are some of those commonalities? Like I know that we do obviously postpartum and prenatal support at the Heartline MC. And so what are some of those commonalities? Because that's a similar model, those programs at least, to what you're doing at the starting place. Are there other things that you feel have really transferred over and that are common between the two facilities?
So I think the universal need of pregnant women is community and support. And so there's definite commonality between any country in the world. When someone is pregnant, they're in sometimes their most vulnerable time of their lives, especially if there's challenges outside of their pregnancy going on, which for a lot of people there are, no matter what country you're in, it's a hard time. And so I definitely think there's crossover in that everyone can benefit from feeling encouraged and having really high quality, high relational care. And so the similarities are many. The way that we administer groups or run the groups is a little different, but we're kind of learning as we go, as we do groups in the United States. And, in Haiti, I would say that is the highlight of everyone's week. And that, just that so many people are unemployed and don't have a ton on their schedule. So to get ready and go hang out with another 70 ladies who are also going through what you're going through is a big highlight of the week. Here, we're dealing more with everybody's hustling and trying to, to be able to take care of other kids, to be able to work. So it's a little bit tougher to schedule the groups, but when we have got them started, they gain momentum fast and people really love it.
It's interesting to think about the pace of life, the pace of life in Haiti seems hectic, but it's hectic for different reasons. And then, we know in the States, obviously it's hectic for all kinds of crazy reasons, whether it's sports or things that it's different. But that idea that, and you see it in the photos when you see, especially postpartum and prenatal clinic pics, how everyone it's an event, it's a big thing. And I never thought of it that way. That's insightful. So what about, kind of commonalities, kind of the uniqueness of folks in Haiti versus folks in the States? Are there things that have really stuck out for you as when you think about moms in Haiti and moms in the States? I mean, you just mentioned they're a lot alike, and probably all around the world for that matter.
Yeah.
Anything else that really sticks out now that you've been immersed in? I mean, and granted, you've been working the Heartline MC as well, but that you've really been immersed in Temple there. Is there things that you've noticed different?
I don't, I think it's more alike than it is different. Just realizing how much people long for connection. And it's probably coming off COVID too. In the United States, like for the last few years, people were doing all telehealth stuff if they were getting healthcare. So to come and sit in a prenatal visit for an hour and talk about anything you need to talk about, like definitely we're doing all of the checkups and the prenatal care and everything you need to do to have a prenatal visit. But a lot of it is honestly just giving a person time to be heard, to say what's going on in their lives, to just take a breather. And so the appointments are not rushed at all. And I feel like in Haiti that people were kind of shocked by that when we would do a consult. A lot of the women would be so surprised that it was more than just, here, we're gonna listen to your heartbeat, check your baby, take your blood pressure, send you out the door in 6 minutes. That we would sit and say, well, what else is going on and how can we pray for you? And so we've definitely seen that is something that is really needed here in Bell County, Texas, just like it's needed in Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
Yeah, I think that for me too, and some of my other parts of the role with Heartline is emphasizing how much alike we are as a society than we are different.
Right.
Some of the differences are obvious, whether it's material poverty or even down to something like the politics of each nation or whatever it is. But the reality is, emotionally, a relationship, we're very much alike comparatively than as compared to how we're different.
Yeah, and I don't think any pregnant person enters in without some apprehension, anxiety, fear, and so that's universal. Just to be able to be with somebody when they're about to experience something, for a lot of people they've never experienced before. But even if it's a second or third pregnancy, I think pregnancy is a really scary time. There's too many variables and unknowns, and so yeah, there's similarities no matter where you are.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. How about challenges this year? In looking back at the year, whether you saw them coming and you knew it, maybe it was the city permitting or something like that, all the way through capacity. Were there challenges this year that you faced that stick out to you?
I would say probably for us, and this is probably not that big of a challenge overall, but I think getting, so our postpartum support group is called the Mother Load, and it exists for the main purpose is just to help people feel less alone in those first months, and up to the first year after a baby is born. The hormonal shifts and everything that happens, it's 1 in 7 women will experience postpartum anxiety or depression. And so the group exists to help with that and to help people make connections with others going through the same thing. And when we first started it, I think the truth is we put off starting it a little bit because of fear. Will anyone come? Will this work? And it is now the most popular thing we have going, and we're adding a second group. And I would say we've had probably 20 different people that have come through, and they want to all come at the same time. So we want the group to stay intimate. So we're dividing and going to try to do 2 groups of 15 so that both groups could grow. And eventually I could see us adding a third. The postpartum support thing has been very needed. And so it was good to see that our fears were unfounded. I think it was just that awkward thing for the first few meetings where we sat with 2 or 3 ladies who it's not like we haven't been doing groups for years, so everyone's real quiet, and there's that, let's try to get some conversation going. But within 4 or 5 meetings, KJ and I just throw a topic out and walk away, and it's just all community. It's really cool.
Yeah, and it speaks to exactly what you said before, that we're seeking this relationship and this common need to be able to share the experience together and all of that. So yeah, that's great. And and I know you've posted, it's probably a good opportunity in this, if you're not already following the Starting Place on social media, Facebook and Instagram are spots to go, and I'll post the links at the bottom of the YouTube of this YouTube interview. But it's great to follow, because we will post on the Heartline feeds from time to time, but there's more posts that you may be missing if you're not following the Starting Place. So great little plug for that. So we know that roughly 125 women are in various parts of the program at the Heartline MC, whether it's prenatal or actual birthing or postpartum care. How does that work at the Starting Place? I mean, you have around 20 folks at the MC, between, you know, support staff and nurses and midwives. At the Starting Place, you have 2 and a facilities guy who also has a full-time job. How do you manage that, and how big is that group at any given time?
Sure. So yeah, in Haiti at the Heartline Maternity Center, it's usually about 75 pregnant and 50 postpartum. Our numbers here in Texas are about 20 pregnant and 12 postpartum. So we're taking care of 32 to 35 women at any given time. We have capacity to do more than that, but we are just being careful with our growth and really just wanting to make sure that we never compromise the quality of care, because we've got too many people. And, you know, maybe at some point we would look at adding a part-time nurse or another part-time midwife, be able to balance it all. But for right now, we have kind of found a sweet spot and have figured this out at 20-ish pregnant people. And then, you know, there are times where all of a sudden we get 6 calls for everybody due in January of 2023, and they all say yes, they want to use us, and so the number will spike up. But it varies a little bit. But I feel like the most we could possibly do at a time for pregnant women is about 40, and then that would put our postpartum numbers up higher, of course, to more like 24. So we are not trying to win any races or prove anything. So we're just letting it happen as it happens. And so maybe a year from now we would be there. But for now, we're happy with our 32 to 35 ladies. And that way we're able to really invest in each person between the 2 of us. So.
And that way too, like you said, if you decide or find the proper fit, you can add staff down the road, which you've dabbled in thinking about, but haven't been forced to do out of urgency because you've been careful. And I imagine the experience of controlling that in Haiti as well, and understanding we're going to only grow at this pace, is probably applied right here to what you're doing in the States.
Yeah. And when Haiti grew, it kind of grew in groups of 10 people, and we would add a staff member, add 10 more clients. So yeah, I could foresee us, if, you know, when we get there, growing in a similar manner. We figured out, you know, Haiti's different because the postpartum care is so involved. As far as after a woman gives birth in Haiti, they stay for 4 days and have 24/7 care for 4 days. So that's a big piece of why the staff needs to be large in Haiti. Here, we keep ladies for 6 hours after birth, and then they're discharged to their house, and we go visit them for their first postpartum visit at their home. So there isn't 24/7 anything for postpartum here in Texas,
right. Okay.
Which makes it easier for 2 people to do it.
Right. Yeah, it's a different dynamic altogether as far as the relationship goes. Well, yeah, I did put it in the photos of the month. So for those folks that watched or read that already, they know the answer to this next one. But so a year has gone by. How many babies in one way or another, because we know that birth experience may not result in their birth being at the Starting Place, it may result in home or anywhere. But how many babies did you welcome in this first year of operation?
Sure. So we have 31 babies that were born since we started in June of last year, and that was to 30 moms because we had 1 set of twins. So yeah, it was a big first year, I felt like.
Yeah, that would be my next question. Did you expect it to be that large?
Not necessarily. I think we were sort of like, we'll probably average a couple a month. So I think we thought we'd be more around the 24 mark, 24 babies. So we were actually, when you asked us to count, we were like, oh, this is bigger than we thought it was.
Well, it's almost, I mean, if you look at the numbers for the maternity center in Haiti, it's almost 25%, or really around 25% of what we're seeing there. So I know for me, as somebody kind of on the sidelines of watching it all come together, it's a much higher number. When you came back with 31, I expected 20. So it's a much higher number than I even thought. And I've been paying attention.
Yeah, it's not every, every client decides if they want to be on our social media. So part of it is
Sure.
that not every client chooses to do that. So there's more babies being born than what you'll see on social media.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I think that we even posted some on the photos of the month, so folks can see all the different kiddos that were born. It's to me, it's just amazing to follow. And again, links below, so make sure you're following. So at the inception, and I know that makes it seem like such a simple process, and I know, having watched you labor through that, pardon the pun, firsthand, at the inception of the starting place, it was a manual and training for not recreating, but maternity centers in other places around the world, and even in Haiti. It has evolved to not only that, but also obviously this physical location. And with the physical location, the goal was that profits or any overage from that would come back to the maternity center. And that required, if I'm saying it right, and correct me if I'm wrong, that required both you and KJ to manage that, in the sense that you have paying customers, you have subsidized clients, I should say, and not customers. And you have to manage that. How has that worked out? Has it been easier than you thought? Has it worked? Is it more challenging? What have you experienced this year in trying to make that work, so that I guess so it evens out, and so that it does what you'd hoped it would do?
So you've probably figured out by all my answers that we definitely learn as we go and allow
Sure.
for mistakes and pivots. We have essentially said to any woman who comes to interview us, considering doing a birth with us, which, not every person is a candidate for out of hospital birth. The hospitals are needed, and there are people who have risks, and we don't take risks with people's lives. So if they have a health condition that doesn't allow them to do out of hospital birth, we can connect them with a better place for them. But for anybody that interviews us and really fits the criteria and wants to do an out of hospital birth, if they say that their barrier to choosing it is financial, we essentially say, can you tell us what is possible for you? And so we have, of those 30 women that have gone through the program so far, 15% of them ended up saying, I can do this if you can lower the price. And so it's not the same for everyone. We just literally work it out with each person. And we happen to be in the same county as the largest military base in the United States, one of the largest in the world. And so there are needs just based on the military base. And so some of those subsidized clients have been military. Some of them have just been on Medicaid, but we can't bill Medicaid. It's a big, boring story that we won't talk about today. And so, yeah, it's worked out perfectly. Now, if all of a sudden 75% of the people that we were interviewing were asking us to subsidize, obviously at that point, it would be like, ooh, this is changing our long-term goals, because of course we want the starting place in Texas to help fund the Heartline Maternity Center, and to be able to push our profit that way. As of right now, we have found that 15% feels good. We still are able to send money to Haiti, and we feel good about it. I am not an economic expert, and I am sure that if we get to the place where people are asking a lot more, we'll have to speak with the economic experts and find out what our threshold is for making sure that we keep all the balls in the air and meet our goals.
Yeah, well, but I mean, that's kind of been one of the bigger takeaways from our discussion. And I know that as being part of this team and this family, is that we have a very safe environment where we are cautious on the things that matter most. Obviously, the care of moms and students and whatever it may be, but we're willing to bump into walls and take risks along the way on the things that are not putting people at risk. And we're learners. We're constant learners. And I think this is a good example of that. So financially, we're learning what works, and financially, we've been able to see great results this year in this first year. And so that says a lot. I mean, in the business world, usually takes 3 to 5 years to be able to say, yeah, we're already able to send some money over to the Heartline Maternity Center or to our whatever that profit is. So I think that the model is working, and then from there we can tweak it as it needs to go.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you had mentioned the Motherload group. Are there other groups on the table, or other groups already happening? Obviously, your capacity and time and even expertise, right? Because you may have to bring in, I know we had talked about yoga, I think, for a while, and some other things. Are there other things happening besides the Motherload group?
Yeah, so KJ and I currently lead the Motherload, and there is a woman named Michaela that's going to take on the second group for the Motherload. And then we do a supportive pregnancy care group. We take a group of women that are all due in the same 6 weeks, and we do 10 classes with them starting early in pregnancy, and the classes kind of go along with the pregnancy. So that just started. We actually just had our second meeting, and it's going really well. It is supportive pregnancy care is a March of Dimes model, very similar to what we did in Haiti. It just technically we're using the March of Dimes model, but same idea. On top of that, we have I'm saying that wrong. We have birth education classes happening at the Starting Place Birth Center. We have 2 different educators in this area using the building to host classes. We have Livesay League, a breastfeeding support group that uses the building and meets there. So there's a lot going on, and we're open to sharing the building like we want it to be used. There is a local group for infant loss and miscarriage, and so they've been meeting at a wine bar, and we've talked to them about possibly meeting if they needed to be somewhere a little more private, that they could meet at the Starting Place. So yeah, I think the building is getting used far more than we hoped to. Like, we wanted people to use it, and it's thankfully been happening.
Great. Well, and it's it's a beautiful space.
It's such a calm place.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Such a calm, welcoming place. We want people to be there.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And to have it empty when it could be used by different groups that still fall under that umbrella just seemed to be a perfect fit. So, and I'm sure Temple as a community is welcome to that too. I know they were very welcome to the Starting Place. So to have it then fulfill other things within that world is probably a blessing in disguise. So great. Well, as you roll into year 2, this June is really the culmination of this first year, and you roll into year 2. What are some things that you will take with you? Is there anything you'll shed? Anything that is going to not come along for year 2? I can't imagine but what are the learnings, I guess, that you bring into the second year of operation?
I think that the main things we learned how to balance. So this is very, this is probably too much information, but I would say we learned that we need to balance the number of first-time moms with second, third, and fourth-time moms that we take per month. So if we're going to take 6 women due in a month, probably only 2 can be first-time moms, just based on the number of hours it takes to have your first baby, and how much more honestly difficult and challenging it is to have the first baby than it is to have the third. So we learned that the hard way by having far too many first-time moms in a month where we were not really sleeping, and just it got a little hairy, but we got through it. So that was one thing we learned. We've kind of changed who and how we'll say yes. It's very hard saying no to someone. It's very hard saying, listen, we're full. Thankfully, there are other midwives in this area that we've met that we can refer people to when we're full. So other than that, I feel like just moving into the next year, being less nervous about failure. Like, I think we were both just so worried. We love the Heartline Maternity Center so much, and we're doing this in Texas because of our love for Haiti, and we absolutely love women and love working with them here, but we also wanted it to work so well that it would support Haiti. And if it didn't do that, to us, it would be a failure. And so I do think that we're just going to be much more mellow and realize like there's a demand for this here in Bell County. We're going to have clients. We're going to be able to do this and be able to help with the Haiti things based on what's happening here. And so to just let go of fear and anxiety about it all, probably.
Yeah, well, having that year's worth of experience under your belt now and having, some of the hurdles passed, and and folks watching, I mean, you were up past midnight last night. So I mean, it's like your schedule based on your clientele and based on even if it were a second mom is totally up in the air, and up to babies being born when they want to come. So it probably when there's only two.
Yeah, well, I missed Troy's birthday Monday night because the baby was born Monday night, and then I missed Father's Day last night because the baby was born last night. So thankfully, I have a very, very kind family that just rolls with whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Babies come when they want to come, and right. Almost always when you have other plans.
Yeah, exactly. And when there's only two of you, who's going? You're probably both going, but yeah, I could see that being a busy, never-ending busyness, I guess. So really in closing up, I mean, thank you again for taking this time, but what aren't we talking about? What would you want folks to know who have followed the story, who are continuing to follow the story? Are there any parting words that you would want to share in this time?
I think my ongoing message and my ongoing thought is just how grateful we are for support. Like when we talk about subsidizing women's care, the truth of the matter is it's donors that allow us to do that. And I'm so grateful for the group of people that support Heartline, and just knowing like if we got into a situation where there was somebody who needed more above and beyond than what we've done before, there are people that have said, come to us and tell us what the need is and let us consider it. And so that's always in the back of our heads, just knowing like we're not alone in this. We have a really amazing group of people that support Heartline Ministries, and therefore under that, the starting place. And so I think just saying thank you so much for being interested and invested in what's happening both in Port-au-Prince and in Bell County, Texas, and for continuing to love and give and pray for us. It means so much, and I wouldn't want to do it without you.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. I love when they share their sentiments, and then we're able to they'll email me or they'll email somebody on the team, and then we share that amongst the not only the folks here in the US, the little teeny group here, but then this big group. For those that are leading in Haiti, we share it with them as well. And so their words, their prayers, their giving, they all make a tremendous difference. So yeah, I think that's a great way to close it out. And we're not really closing anything out because you got a whole nother year ahead of you now. But just thankful for your time, thankful for what you're doing and your leadership in it, and obviously KJ as well. And I would encourage folks, if we didn't cover a question or if there's something you'd like to know about the starting place, you can email connect@heartlineministries.org. You can go to the Starting Place website where there's a lot of great information. I'll put all those links in the post below, but we certainly want to be able to answer your questions. We value transparency and we love the story, so we want to share it with you. All right, well, thank you, Tara. Thank you for making time. I understand you're headed to Haiti in about a week, so safe travels.
Thank you. Very excited to go.
Yep.
We're hoping to move the maternity center back to its original location. So we'll see. I am trying to hold it all loosely, but that's our hope.
I hope so too. I know it's the right place. We know that. And it's also like the starting place, a place of peace and rest. And hopefully they're done making noise in the neighborhood and we can go back. Yeah.
I hope so.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to your pictures, and thanks again for making time this morning, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. You too.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.